Good morning. This is Jim Whitehead of All Power Group. I want to thank you for being here. This particular presentation is going to tell you how generators actually work. How do they produce power? A lot of folks think they're very similar to air conditioners, or you plug them in. So at least hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will have a better understanding of the, in a sense, complexity and or the similarities to cars. Let's start out by talking about Faraday's principle that describes how a generator does what it does. Now, we have two major parts of a generator, and you'll see all of them, engines and so on and so forth. But what actually the engine is really only for, as it's called a prime mover, is only for basically turning what we call a rotor inside a stator, and you'll see that. Now let's just give you the definition of the electricity principle, and I'm going to read it. The basic principle of electricity generation is Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, which states that a moving magnetic field can induce an electrical current in a conductor. A generator contains a rotor, which is a spinning magnet, and a stator, which is a stationary set of conductive coils. As the rotor rotates, it creates a changing magnetic field passes through the stator coils, inducing an electrical current. Also, the amount of electricity and electrical energy produced by a generator depends on several factors, including the strength of the magnetic field, the speed of the rotation of the conductor, and the number of turns in the coil. A rotor stator is made up of almost priceless metal, and one big component is copper wire, which, as you probably know, is pretty expensive. So that's one reason why you will find that generators basically are expensive. You now see a diagram of what's basically happening, and again, you won't be tested on this, but it's showing you the rotor, it's showing you the stator, and just visualize that turns and basically creates an electric current. Now, it has to work harder or less hard depending on what you are running in the home. So if you're running a TV, no big deal. If you're running everything in your home, 5 air conditioners, hot water heater, pool pump, sprinkler pump, and you're cooking a turkey, it's going to be a pretty hard job. And in essence, the one way of looking at this is that the more you run, the harder the generator has to work. Now, the next two pictures, you're going to see a very good close-up of the rotor, and then the stator. And again, the rotor goes inside the stator, and basically that's how we get the electricity. Now, what we're going to show now are some parts of the engine that is considered the prime mover. And these exercise under no load once a week, but then all of a sudden they're called upon to supply and run for hours, making sure your home is the way it should be. And what you're going to see through, as I said, the pictures about the engine, you will see a depiction, actual action of a rotor turning inside a stator. Now, that's not exposed generator. We take all that off so that we can take care and fix what we need to, but it's safe. Now, one little side point. In Florida, people say, well, we got warm, nice weather all the time. Why does my generator get old? We, unfortunately, down here, as you know, and even more than we used to, we have too much humidity and too much heat. And it's a wet heat. It's very pervasive. Also, you're just going to see a picture of an engine. It's, in essence, the Generac V-twin engine that goes into their air-cooled product versus their liquid-cooled. Most of the pictures you're seeing is related to the liquid-cooled. Liquid-cooled have bigger engines, they supply more power. They're more complicated. And the biggest thing is you will find out in my next presentation as to how to buy a generator. You get into, again, how you need to match the generator to your home. What we need to get into now is how do these units run? Thank goodness, unless it's a portable generator, we don't use gasoline. Gasoline is a very potent fuel, but it goes bad pretty quickly if it's just sitting in this case, a generator tank. So most of the generators of today run on either propane or natural gas. Now I'm showing where you're seeing a picture of the internal gas regulator that comes from the outside, and in this case it's using propane. Propane basically goes into either, and I'm showing you a buried propane tank, and next you're going to see the above ground tanks, and each one, the tank, below ground tank holds more gas or can hold more gas. And the above ground tanks, you have a limit because they're above ground. Now, the tanks, don't worry, are made to withstand just about anything. I've always said any danger to generator issues or gas issues would be more where somebody is malicious and doing something that doesn't make sense. Now, what we also do is when we hook up the generator, you're going to see basically a meter, and that is what we use to ensure that the generator is getting the proper pressure of gas, in this case propane or natural gas, but also the volume. When a generator is running, even though the RPMs stay the same, as I mentioned earlier, when it goes under more of a load, let's say another air conditioner comes on, so on and so forth, that unit will say, whoa, I need more fuel. So we have to really make sure that the pressure and volume of gas is available to that generator. Now, the last slide you're going to see is basically, you say, okay, the generator is running, the engine's running, the generator is producing electricity, my home is without, in this case, utility power, FPL. Okay, it's running. Well, how does that power get into my home? And this last slide just shows you on the right the Generac, what we call transfer switches. And what they do is when the generator gets a message that for 10 seconds that you're out of power, it says, okay, I'm going to start up and I'm going to get myself up to my proper operating RPM, and moreover, my correct power and hertz cycles, 60 cycles, and it will then switch the connection inside each of these two switches from the dead, in essence, utility connection down to the generator connection. And the good news is now, within about 20 seconds from your loss of power, everything will come back on. You will stay on the generator until the unit again senses that your FPL power is returned, and it will count to 10. And if it sees good power, it will then flip the connection from the generator side to the FPL side. The generator will run for another minute and a half under no load, because now you've taken the load off it. It's not running anything in your home, to cool itself down. And it can do this over and over again. So that basically, hopefully, gives you an idea as to how generators work. And they're good. They're good. The neatest thing, and you'll find in my multiple series or chapters, that also solar is a good combination with just adding basically another potential for you producing your own power, which we all love to do. I want to thank you very, very much for letting me do these for you. Just quickly, I've been in the generator business 18 years. I sold my business in December, and now since, yes, I had started a YouTube channel back in 2007, I never really had much time to spend on content creation, which I love doing. Now I have all the time in the world. And again, thank you. Please subscribe, and we'll look for the next one.